Yeah, boy, it's September 29th, and it's episode 123, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of thefantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fantasy Football Auctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. You can also join us on our all auction Twitter community. Follow us at FF Auction Advice and connect with auction players from all over the Twitter sphere. We've got a great show for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to get you ready for week 4. Buys start this week, and we're going to get you ready with waiver wire and FAAB claims, lineup questions, and of course, the latest news from the NFL. Now, I'm going to be a little remiss here, but he's going to be on soon, I'll say. But of course, our experts, they're always here. Well, we're just waiting for Blister because he's getting back from the rink, so we'll introduce him second or later on down the road. But I will say for Slim, he's happy he took off his Gates jersey on Sunday, so he didn't get harassed all Sunday. Hey, Slim, it was a hell of a game, eh?
Yeah, no, it was a good game. I had fun. Believe me, I'm not a Chargers fan. I just like to be that guy at the game that's trying to piss off all these home fans. So I wasn't gonna walk around downtown Minneapolis for the entire day with a Chargers jersey on. So I had to get rid of that right after the game so I could go enjoy.
Well, did bring it back, so it's all good. Actually, you know what? The game really wasn't great, right? Defense was okay.
Some ugly.
AP was good.
AP had 2 good runs. Other than that, Teddy Bridgewater sucked.
Yeah.
Rivers sucked. So yeah, that was about that.
Yeah,
it was a gorgeous day though.
Gorgeous day, great seats, and good company. Cold beers too.
Yep.
All right, he's here, so I'll introduce him. We're just doing the intros, Blister. And his adductor longus muscles are still sore from the mechanical bull. Blister, those picks, they're priceless. Is he there?
Yeah, let's just listen to you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
Hello?
Hello?
Barely. Hello? Hello?
We got you.
All right, I'm here, yeah. Keep those picks to your call, man. Save them for...
Oh, I saved them. I'm just showing from my phone. Don't worry. Old Noonsy loved it, though. She loved it.
I bet.
You might need to just set your headphones, Blister. I don't think you got the right microphone.
Hey.
Anyways. Got her?
I hear you. The microphone's not working.
Can't hear me.
You're talking through your computer, it sounds like. Oh, this sounds like a Blog Talk Radio podcast right from the get-go here.
Well.
Oh, well. That's all right. You'll figure it out as we go along. Anyways, let's just get into it.
How's that?
There it is. There he is, Blister.
Yeah.
There.
How are you doing?
Good. Real good. Happy you could join us tonight.
Better. Yeah, I totally spaced it all out. I had written it down on a note earlier and then went to hockey, got home. It was like by the time we got that done and kids to bed and started looking at bed, it was like 8:45. So I started to go on to set one of my 40, 50 lineups. And next thing you know, I'm getting texts. I thought, I'm not going to answer those. It's probably about hockey. I don't want to think about it. Rolled over. Oh, crap. It's Uncle Buckets. Oh, I'm supposed to be in the kitchen right now. So here I am.
So here he is. All right. Well, that's all right. We got off to a rocky start, but it's going to be a good pod because the week 4 buys, the buys are starting. So this is when setting your lineup really starts to get interesting, when the waiver wire gets interesting too. So we'll get into it right away here. So if you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. All right, so we're going to get ready for week 4 here, guys. And we'll just get rolling right into it. Let's roll into segment number 1. This one's called We Just Got a Letter. All right, so We Just Got a Letter is where we have usually mostly Twitter questions, but sometimes some email questions too. So if you have a question, you can get us on Twitter. We're at Fantasy Auction. You can also look to crowdsource that question at FF Auction Advice. That's the auction community. And if 140 characters isn't enough for you, footballauctioneer@gmail.com. First question here comes from Tim W51. Here's his question. He wants to trade one of T.Y. or Moncrief. Which wide receiver do you like going forward? And then he lists the rest of his roster there, so you guys can have a quick little peek at it. So, Slim, what do you think? He wants to trade one of them, T.Y. or Moncrief.
Well, it's a 10-team league. If I just go through really quick, he's got, just for his running backs, they're Lacey, McCoy, Randall, Matt Jones, Ivory, Tevin Coleman, and then at wide receiver, his only other two are Kendall Wright and B-Jax. So I will say that...
don't trade any of them.
And unfortunately, Moncrief is his second best wide receiver. So I wouldn't trade either. I would try and trade one of those mini running backs to get some sort of wide receiver help, because they're pretty terrible, especially in a 10-team. You need studs, and really you only have one in T.Y. And he hasn't been real studly yet this year. So part of his question, this was kind of a combo from Twitter and an email. He said he's 0-3 right now. So, and yeah, he's 0-3 because Sean McCoy's been crap, and Lacey's been hurt, and T.Y.'s been hurt. So there's a reason. Landry Luck, because his quarterback has been crap. So yeah, you can't be shocked. So it's not really necessary to panic, but yeah, your wide receivers aren't very good. So I'd be definitely looking at packaging up.
Eifert goes to 0 for 2 isn't helping him.
Yeah, well, I would try and package up maybe two of those running backs and try and get some wide receiver help.
Yeah, it's too bad Matt Jones didn't have a better week 3 there. That would have been a nice little guy in a redraft, right?
And that's the thing too. Like Matt Jones coming off a bad game, Tevin Coleman's hurt. McCoy has no real trade value, or at least not what you could have got for him maybe during your draft or something like that. So it's going to be tough to get a stud wide receiver. You might have to throw Moncrief in a package with McCoy or something like that. But you know what? I would probably even do that to looking at this team.
All right, Blitzer, let's head over to you for Twitter question number 2. This one's from Eric McCrae 2. It's another trading question. He gets Matt Ryan, and he is dealing Andy Dalton and Isaiah Crowell. What do you think of that deal?
Yeah, I don't mind that, actually. I know Dalton's had a pretty good start to his year, but he doesn't usually carry that out. I mean, I shouldn't say that. A couple of years ago, he was the number 3 ranked quarterback, but I like Matt Ryan a little better with the Julio Jones show that he's got. He's currently ranked 8th in quarterbacks stats through the first few weeks here, and Dalton is, where is he?
3.
3. Oh, that's pretty good too, actually.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why that thing's making that noise. Can you guys hear that?
What's that, a little bit of a hum?
No, it's like a, I don't know, stupid thing.
Right.
Anyways, I don't know. I mean, I like Matt Ryan over the long term. Oh, what the hell just happened? Am I there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Something happened here. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. My computer's doing weird stuff. I might get booted here, but I guess personally, yeah, I would probably don't mind that. I don't really like Crowell that much. I don't know what else he's got at running back and stuff like that, but he's technically taking a bit of a downgrade. Dalton has 14 more points this year so far over 3 weeks, and then does Matt Ryan. I guess at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm kind of him and hot now that I look at these stats more.
Oh.
I mean,
I think
don't
you
know.
don't do it. I hate trading quarterbacks, like especially in a redraft league. Like, what are you really gaining?
Well, not much here.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you traded for Andrew Luck at the start of the season, what did you gain? You got the number 12 fantasy quarterback right now. Wow. Mm-hmm. How great is that? Tyrod Taylor's better than him. Carson Palmer's better than Marcus Mariota. Like, there's all these guys you could have got off waivers that would have outproduced him already. Like, you're not. I'm not a big believer in the trading for quarterbacks and redrafts. And believe me, I'm not high on Crowell really either, but at least he's an option if someone gets hurt at a position of volatility. So I'm kind of just inclined to keep what you got. But.
This is a good example of not being, I guess, prepared beforehand or well versed beforehand. We just go right live, literally. And when you think about it, Dalton, actually, when you look at his receiving core, I mean, A.J. Green is a stud, and he's got Marvin Jones coming along, and Gio can make plays out of the backfield, Jeremy Hill. He's probably got a little more solid depth. I mean, over Matt Ryan's got Julio. Roddy White hasn't even had a point in the last 2 weeks. And Tevin, and he's got Devontae Freeman there. And Dalton also has Tyler Eifert. So he's probably got more weapons that hopefully should keep him up there.
But you're right, though. I mean, that's like you said, you just jumped on. And that's everybody's first instinct, though, is to look at something like that and probably think, Matt Ryan. Yeah. Even though Matt Ryan hasn't been a fantasy beast ever.
Perennial QB6.
But he's just, he's never thrown really, I don't think ever for over 30 touchdowns. He just puts up decent numbers, solid numbers, but I mean, no more so than 5-6 other guys. So I just, I don't know. It's why we don't take quarterbacks early and stream a couple and you can go to running back depth.
I say you hold Dalton, and for that very reason, that you didn't invest a lot into him, and when he does end up sucking, if he does 3-4 weeks down the road, you don't mind dropping him. But if Matt Ryan is in that boat, then you're gonna have a hard time dumping him to pick up Fitzpatrick or somebody, right? Like, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
So
that trade could always be, you can always make a trade like that, I feel like, if you had to. Those kinds of trades are there all season, depending on your league. Probably not in our leagues, because we all devalue quarterbacks, but in the majority of leagues, I bet you can make that trade just about all year. Not saying necessarily for Matt Ryan, but for some quarterback like that, I would think you probably could take something like that.
Hey, Slim, while we're moving on to the next one, and I'll send it to Blister, see if you can't up the mic volume a little bit.
I can't.
We're running an amateur hour tonight. That's okay. It's week 4. Anyways, Blister, let's go to you. This one's from @shady_Inc. Another trade question. It's 3 in a row. Moncrief or Jordan Matthews for the rest of the season? It is a PPR league.
Yeah, I don't think it's a trade question. I think he's just talking about who do you
like. Play both if he has them, isn't he?
I think he should be. Moncrief has had a bunch.
Okay.
Moncrief has had a better year than I think anybody expected.
Whoa.
Now what's going on?
You wanted me to up my mic volume.
Yeah, well, no, that was no good.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
How's that?
Moncrief is that's better.
Yeah.
Moncrief's currently ranked 15th in that's probably standard scoring, and Jordan Matthews is behind him. I think that Philadelphia offense has kind of got a little slow out of the gate, and I think they're going to come along. There's a lot of weapons still there in Indy. I still think that Jordan Matthews will outproduce him in the long run, but he's been a nice surprise so far, has Moncrief so far this year.
And Slim and I were just talking about before we got on the air, Slim, we were talking about targets, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had 30 targets, Jordan Matthews, Moncrief 26. So I think he's going to be the main guy there in Philly, and you can't always say that about Dante Moncrief. So I think
his 3 touchdowns right now. Moncrief's got 3 touchdowns. So I mean, if it's touchdown dependent, you hate that, right? Yeah. Unless it's like Julio Jones.
That's right.
So
I'll take Julio.
Yeah. So I think the rest of the season, I'd still put my eggs in the Jordan Matthews basket, if that makes any sense. All my eggs in one basket. But yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay, so those are 3 Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Fantasy Auction, crowdsource it at FF Auction Advice, or email us at footballauctioneer@gmail.com. Moving to segment number 2, guys. This one's called the Fantasy Football News Buy or Sell. So in the buy or sell, this is where we look at the latest fantasy football headlines, and our experts, they decide whether they're buying or selling the implications of that news headline. So first one, Blister's coming to you. DeMarco Murray is back at practice. So the Eagles running back who missed Sunday's game against the Jets with a hamstring injury was back at practice on Tuesday, and we're recording today on Tuesday, so that's today, as the team begins preparations for the Washington Redskins. So, Blister, buy or sell? I mean, Ryan Matthews looked good last week. So, Ryan Matthews, regardless of DeMarco playing or not, that Ryan Matthews will be a solid RB2 moving forward?
I'll buy that. I think they're going to probably get him a little bit more involved. I think the thing is they spend a lot of money on DeMarco Murray, so he's not going to go away. It's not like he's some rookie or even like C.J. Anderson. The Denver hasn't got a lot invested in him really. So if Ronnie Hillman steps up, he could just take over the number one role there. I think DeMarco's still always going to be in the picture no matter what. They've spent money on Ryan Matthews too, but not nearly the big bucks they spent on DeMarco, so he's going to get a chance. But Matthews coming off a 108-yard rushing game against the Jets, who's no slouch D, especially against, well, they're a tough D no matter what. And DeMarco here, he's averaging 0.2 yards per carry last time he played game 2 and 1.1 yard per carry the game before that. So he's really sucking. No doubt about it. And I think if the Eagles, that was their first win. Matthews ran for over 100 yards, so he had 2 catches as well. So realistically, in the long run, if Chip wants to keep his job, then he might want to get the running back in there that's going to move the ball. So both Matthews and Sproles are ahead of DeMarco Murray as far as putting up fantasy points. I think that you better have them have an investment in Matthews for sure going forward, because they can't afford to keep losing games. If DeMarco's going to go out there and rush for a half a yard per carry, that's not going to get her done.
That's right. But that awesome offensive line's got to open up some holes for him too. Boy, he's just been getting swallowed up. DeMarco, 4 or 5 yards in the backfield.
Yeah, that's sad.
Not helping anybody. Anyways, all right, let's move on to news item number 2. Slim, this one's coming to you. Drew Brees was going to test his shoulder today. Now, I looked and I couldn't find any updated information, so this came from this afternoon. But Drew Brees, he planned on testing his shoulder today on Tuesday. We don't know the results of that test, but it'll be his first time throwing since last Friday. This is according to ESPN NFL insider Ed Werder. So Brees told Werder that yesterday he went to Birmingham, got an extensive evaluation of his shoulder, and things were more positive than he expected. So Slim, the question is, buy or sell? You should be worried if you need to start any of the Saints this week in any position except for maybe flex, as Brees is listed as day-to-day and may not even return on the weekend.
I'm going to sell that. I think Brees plays. I don't think he's a great start necessarily this week. To me, a low-end QB1 at best. I don't mind Ingram this week. I think he's a low-end RB1. Cooks, I believe I got him somewhere in low-end wide receiver 2. I don't think they're awful plays. But yeah, I think that they're going to have to do something on offense here. I don't know. Brees could be rushing himself back a little bit, but yeah, I like Ingram's matchup better than anybody else's, so I think he's a good play for you this week. Dallas, they just got torched kind of by the Falcons. Vegas has their point total at 46.5, which is one of the higher ones this week, and they got New Orleans favored by 4 points. So I like all those things to equate to a fair amount of points put up by the Saints, believe it or not. So there is actually some decent plays this week, I think.
Got torched second half. Over in the second half. It's a sad state of affairs when that's happening. That's just, Anyways, but I was going to say with Mark Ingram, you say, he's been decent this year. In PPR, he's number 5 RB, and I just love right now looking at, who the RB1s are right now. Jamal Charles, that's fine. Number 2, Devonta Freeman, Dion Lewis, Lat Murray, Mark Ingram. That's your top 5.
It just goes to show you why you don't invest highly and why it's tough to invest highly. Anybody who did it with McCoy, C.J. Anderson, DeMarco Murray are probably feeling sick to their stomachs a little bit.
Yeah, AP had 6, Joseph Randall 7, Matt Forte, Carlos Hyde, Danny Woodhead 10. Lance Dunbar, who only has 2 rushing attempts, is the number 12. Is the number 12 running back. Gio Bernard, Carlos Williams, Darren Sproles, CJ 2K. It's just.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, actually. Would never have predicted it. Anyways, we'll stay with the running back position and somebody that most people had ranked fairly high heading into the season. I won't say RB1 high, but high. Andre Ellington. Andre Ellington seems to be progressing right now. Cards head coach Bruce Arians expects him to be back on the field and testing out that knee this week and seeing how well he'll practice this week to see if he's going to be ready to roll Sunday against the Rams. So, I mean, we've seen CJ 2K and we've seen David Johnson, not David Cobb, so you don't throw me under the bus again. So we get that out in the open right now. Anyways, Blister, I'm going to send this to you. So Slim can't throw me under the bus over and over again. I actually was messaged after that particular incident and was wondering if Slim and I were on speaking terms after the event. So like the people are concerned about our friendship, so that's good, Slim. Anyways,
be the heel. That's okay.
Blister, we're gonna send this buy or sell to you. So buy or sell. If Ellington is back, then David Johnson is going to be the odd man out. CJ 2K and Andre are both going to be startable. Let's say RB2s.
Well,
it's a two-part question, I guess.
I'll sell it, I guess. I buy that David Johnson will be the odd man out. He has been all along so far, unfortunately. But CJ 2K had a surprisingly good game last week, so I think that he might get a few touches. I think Andre will probably get the majority again. He'll maybe the first time it'll be. Maybe the first time it'll be a little more close to 50-50 with Andre and CJ, but I think it'll be Andre's game again until he gets hurt. I don't expect him to stay healthy too long, so I think they'll try to keep CJ kind of in the mix a little bit, give him a couple series, keep him fresh, but it's hard to say they're both startable RB2 options. I'd say maybe Andre is, but I'm not so confident in CJ 2K.
Not so confident in the number 16 PPR running back. Oh.
Yeah. I still hate him.
Yeah. And yet, you won't forget it. We got to see the Chargers. We talked about that, speaking of hate. So that was good. Anyways, sticking with running backs, going to you, Slim. Marshawn Lynch is getting an MRI on the hamstring. This was on Monday, so what would have already taken place. But Marshawn was dealing with a sore back and a neck and a calf injury, and then suffered a hamstring injury, which caused him to miss the second half of Sunday's game. So right now we're taking a look at what's going to happen with that MRI and what's going to happen with him moving forward. So, sorry, if you look at the stat lines from the weekend, Thomas Rawls, he looked good out there. So Slim, buy or sell? If Marshawn doesn't play, Thomas Rawls is a high-end RB2 this week versus Detroit.
I'll buy that. I personally think Lynch plays. But I buy it if he doesn't. One is right now they're the biggest favorite of all the games this week, 9.5-point favorite. What that says to me is they're going to be winning a lot of the game. They should be looking to play with the lead, which means ball control, which means hopefully a lot of handoffs. So if Lynch isn't out there, I would think that Rawls gets the majority of those carries. So we know that volume should equate to fantasy production. Detroit hasn't been too great against the rush either, so he could actually do something with those touches. And if he scores one or two, then all of a sudden he's Devontae Freeman. All of a sudden, I guess we could say. Right. So, I'll buy that if Lynch doesn't play.
Devontae Freeman, it was as a fantasy.
Everyone called that one though.
Yeah, when we were watching it come up on the ticker at the stadium, hey, it was just like, oh, and then I'm like, no, they're playing the Cowboys. It's not good. But as a fantasy guy, it was you're reeling because everyone's playing them in dailies and all. Did that pan out for either of you guys? I didn't talk to you guys about DFS on the weekend.
What's that?
DFS and Freeman.
Oh yeah,
Freeman.
Yeah, it helped me quite a bit.
Awesome.
I had two of my best scores ever on DraftKings, and I didn't even win any money. I was like, it was crazy how high the scores were.
I bet you 99% of people had Devontae Freeman going.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not the contrarian play there. All right, let's move on to the last of the buy or sell. This one, Blister's coming to you. Alshon Jeffrey is set to return on for Week 4. So the Bears wide receiver is expected to return from his hamstring injury for Sunday's game against the Oakland Raiders, according to Adam Schefter. Now, this I thought was funny. He still has the most receiving yards amongst all the Bears despite missing 2 games. So they've only played 3. He still has the most receiving yards, and I just looked him up. 11 targets, 5 receptions, 78 yards. And he's leading the team after 3 games in receiving. Which is
sad.
Right, man.
Sad state of affairs.
Anyways, Blister, buy or sell. If Alshon plays this week, he is instantly a wide receiver 1 this week.
Well, I hope so. I guess leagues that I'm losing in, it's because he's one of my top receivers and he hasn't been playing. So, you know, it scares me. Maybe I'd feel a little bit better if Cutler was behind center, but I think that he's going to definitely be wide receiver 2 numbers. I think they got to throw to somebody. They come off an embarrassing loss, shutout in Seattle, and I think they're back home. They got to put up some points and they got to get him the ball. So let's say I'll buy it saying he's a low end wide receiver 1, but not saying that real confidently. But I just really hope more so for my sakes and my fantasy team's sakes that that's true.
Okay, all right, that's fair. So let's buy or sell, guys. That's just some of the major news items that are coming through the wire up till Tuesday today. Speaking of wire, I didn't even mean to transition to that, but that was pretty neat. Let's head into segment number 3. This one's called Live Wire. So in Live Wire, the guys take a look at waiver claims, take a look at the waiver wire, and also talk a little bit about the FAAB budget and how much you should be spending on guys. So I'm going to start with you because Blister spoke last. Who's someone that you're targeting on the waiver this week?
Well, if you start a quarterback, I think, again, Tony Romo owners, maybe you're a Big Ben owner now. You don't feel like starting Mike Vick, which I don't blame you. Derek Carr's got a good matchup this week. Just be cautious. I think he's really only a 1-week start, though, because they do play Denver next week. But I think if you go spend 5% of your budget, he should be able to put up some decent numbers against the Cleveland Browns. He's been showing he can spread the ball around to the likes of Cooper and Crabtree. So those are all good signs, and I don't expect tons of resistance from this Cleveland Browns team. So I'd be confident starting him this week.
Derek Carr owned in 27% of Yahoo leagues. Just looked it up for you there. We've been missing that the last couple of weeks, so trying to get that rolling for you guys. Blister, you got someone else you're targeting this week?
I want to skip to Mashard Matthews, the wide receiver in Miami. He's currently ranked 11th, in PPR scoring. He's had 23 looks, and he's caught 16 of them, 262 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's some pretty nice numbers. He's the top receiver they have right now, and you hear of him. Landry's not doing terrible. He's ranked 20th. Of course, he doesn't seem to find the end zone as often, but it's not bad. He hasn't been in the end zone once yet. He's had 24 grabs, had 35 looks, so a little bit more, looks his way a little more often, obviously. But Kenny Stills and Jennings and Parker and all these other guys that are there Cameron hasn't been really doing much. So between Landry and Rashard Matthews, they've been putting up some nice numbers. And I know Rashard Matthews probably wasn't drafted in a lot of leagues. He, probably people thought maybe he'd be a flash in the pan, but he put up big numbers again last week, and he's a guy you should probably have on your team.
I'm just trying to look him up here.
What's that?
I was just trying to look him up here where he is, and then I missed it. So, anyways, I'll grab the stats on him and his availability. Here we go. I'll grab him right now. He's owned in 35% of leagues, so guys were starting to scope him out a little bit last week, I guess. 3 touchdowns and 23 targets already for him. So. Slim, who else are you targeting this week at waiver wire?
Well, I'm going to list to jump to Matthews because it saved this guy for me who I really wanted to talk about, Carlos Williams. Adam Schefter reported that it looks like McCoy is unlikely to play, and I think once that happened, Carlos Williams is going to become the Devontae Freeman of DFS this week, which is a good thing for you as a fantasy owner. He's probably not owned in a lot of the leagues you play in. I think if you're a McCoy owner, you would look to spend, upwards of 20% of your budget to get him. Just a regular non-McCoy owner, you might spend anywhere from 10 to 15%. He's got 3 touchdowns in the first 3 games. Some might argue that that just shows that he's touchdown dependent, but I think it speaks to his usage that Buffalo isn't scared to use him in the red zone. And when you look at the Vegas lines, Buffalo's favored by 5.5 points, which is awesome. That means I love running backs from bigger favorites like this, because that means they should be winning a lot of the game, hopefully, which should increase their usage. So he's going to be a cheap play in DFS. He should be readily available on a lot of your waiver wires, and I think he's a good start this week.
He is readily available. He's owned in 30% of leagues, so available in 70%. So most guys have him out there sitting on the waiver. Lister, next up, who do you got?
Marvin Jones, wide receiver in Cincinnati. 2 years ago, he had 10 touchdowns and had a really nice rookie campaign. Then he was hurt last year, missed the whole season. This year, I think, what we're seeing each week is he gets put into the looks are coming his way a little bit more every week. He started off week 1 with only 3 targets. Week 2, he had 5, and last week he had 8, and he turned those 8 targets into 5 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. So his fantasy points have went up from just under 4 to 13 up to 20. And he's a guy that I think, he's playing in that great spot. He's opposite A.J. Green, who's going to get the attention all the time. He's got the talent. They like him in the red zone, so he'll find, he'll get looks in the red zone too. So he's that perfect wide receiver 2 on a team that you want. And again, you can pick him up cheap in leagues, and he'll be a nice play.
And he is available in a ton of leagues too. He's only owned in 22% of leagues, so 88% out there. It's pretty good.
Shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame, yeah.
That's a shame. Well, it's a shame if you're not owning them, but it's not a shame if you need them. So that's good. All right, Slim, what else you got? While I'm working on this to the man here.
Sticking with wide receiver, Ty Montgomery. We saw Devontae Adams get hurt Monday night. Jordy Nelson. The Jordy Nelson clone, I guess, Jeff Janis, has been
a nice tackle.
A non-factor in the offense. So I'm going to target Montgomery only because if you can own any significant piece of the Green Bay offense, I think that's a good little piece to have on your bench, or even for a spot start here and there. So I don't think you got to break the bank. Something like 5% of your budget should be able to get him, and you know what? If you don't get him for that, then that's okay. But it's definitely worth putting a little claim on.
All right, Blister, keep it rolling. I'm still trying to work on this to the man. Dig deep. Tell me lots of
Yeah, well,
deeps.
I never really thought I'd be saying this, but Ted Ginn Jr. in Carolina, he's got 22 targets so far, and he's had some decent outings. During 7 points, then 14 and 13, and he would have had a big, if he would have gotten the end zone last week, he probably would have had a 20-point week. And Cam's looking his way. He's right now number 1 in the depth charts. It's like we know there's not a lot there. I think he only threw to Funches twice last week. Philly Brown was there, but not really doing much. And it looks like, if we're looking at some replays and stuff and some game tapes, that he really looks for Ted Ginn, gets scrambling around, and once he gets some separation, he'll throw the ball his way. So Ted Ginn Jr., I can't believe I'm saying it.
Yeah, not well. And again, looking at that wide receiver list and who's in the top 30 we were talking about before we got on the air, it's pretty crazy, really.
It is.
So, Slim, do you have someone else on your list? Well, I'm just trying to finish this.
I say no.
No, say you do, because I got something more I got to do, please.
I'll just jump into the tight end then really quick. Eric Ebron, he's a guy I was low on for a long time, I'll say. I'm starting to come around a little bit, though. Brandon Pettigrew has been out again. And we've seen Ebron take virtually every snap when that's happened, which is a good thing. So I like this extra usage. It's allowed him to show his skills, his dominant size. Unfortunately, drops are still an issue with him. So, but the good thing is that keeps his ownership, I think, fairly low. He's not going to be necessarily the most reliable tight end because of those drops, but he has the skill set that I like that makes him pretty viable in the red zone. And I don't think it's a great matchup going against Seattle, but I think that secondary will try and really limit Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate. So if they can move the ball into the red zone, I think Ebron has as good a chance as anyone on this roster to come away with a touchdown. So you don't have to spend a lot to get him because, like I said, this matchup itself isn't the greatest, but moving forward, he'll you should do better. But if you were looking to spend, I don't know, somewhere around 5% of your budget, some maybe even 8%, I think it's a decent price to get him.
All right, Blister, what do you got? One more? Almost? No one?
Well, we talked about Thomas Rawls. Thomas Rawls in Seattle. I mean, I don't think that's why Slim skipped over, but we talked about him earlier. Lynch probably will play, but if not, Thomas Rawls is a nice option there. He's young. He's got younger legs. I thought they'd give the ball to F-Jacks more if Lynch was out, but they didn't, and he didn't get a lot of touches at all. So I think you got to kind of keep an eye on Thomas Rawls, because we all know Lynch has been around a long time, had a lot of carries. He's gone to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, so he's played deep in the season, had a few more bumps and bruises along the way than the guys that don't make the playoffs. So you got to keep an eye that I think there's going to be some, whether it's this week or 3 or 4 weeks down the road, I think Thomas Rawls is going to get some serious playing time at some point.
All right, I am about finished here. So that was Livewire. We take a look at waiver wire and your FAAB budgets and all those things. Remember that buys start this week, so it's important for you to pay attention to what's going on out there and who you've got sitting and who you need to start, and really start putting your big claims out there, I guess, right? This is the time where you really have to start taking a look. If you're a streamer, this is important times. All right, so here's what we're going to do, guys. Look at that. I got a nice little table in there, and all of a sudden it looks nice and pretty. Should be good. I don't know if it's going to work out, but it should be all right. So anyways, we're heading into segment number 4. This one's called This is the Man. So in This is the Man, this is where we pit expert versus expert in head-to-head player matchups. We take a look at some of the tough decisions you may need to make out there, and our guys try to decide who they favor each week. We run the total all season long, and there's a case of suds at the end of the season. Let's quickly recap what happened in week 3. So week 3, and I wasn't present, so this is the first time I'm really seeing this. So this is interesting for me. So let's take a look at week 3. First one was quarterback position and Matthew Stafford. Well, that's right, I made a cameo at this point. Oh, yeah, pretty made a cameo. Matthew Stafford versus Tyrod Taylor. Both guys took Taylor, and both were correct. Another good week for him, over 24 points. At the running back position, both of you took Matt Jones over Alfie Morris, and it was a real barn burner there. Their running game was awesome during that game. Those two guys combined score for 5.7 points, so that's awesome. Matt Jones loses that, however, by 0.1, so no points scored. Next one up, Devontae Freeman or Gio Bernard. Well, we all know what Devontae did, or he did 42.3 points in PPR scoring. So both guys scored points there. Both of you took James Jones over Travis Benjamin, and James Jones went off. He went crazy again for almost 27 points. So he scored points there. At the next wide receiver position, Blister took Michael Crabtree. Slim took Pierre Garçon, and the Frenchman scores points. So Slim gets a point there. At the tight end position, Crockett Gilmore or Ladarius Green. Ladarius didn't dress, and we do this on Tuesdays. Well, I guess, when was it? Wednesday. So Slim did take Green, so unfortunately loses a point there. And then at the flex position, Rashard Matthews or Lance Dunbar. Both of the boys took Lance Dunbar, who, I will say, scored over 20 points, so it was a good pick. However, it wasn't good enough to beat Rashard Matthews, who scored almost 30. And then at the defense, at DST, Blister took the Browns. Slim took the Jets. The Jets were wicked. They got 2 points to the Cleveland Brown 1 point. Luckily, I didn't put the Dolphins in there. Didn't they go negative?
Well, they might have.
I think they went negative 4.
Yeah, they did, because I started them in a league.
So this week, Slim goes for week 3, Slim goes 5-3. Blister goes 4-4. So that brings it to an overall total right now of 13-7 for Slim. And if I look at, I think it must have been Blister doing the scoring here. Haha, I know it was. The gap widens, and I think SOB was the term that was listed below. So anyways, let's move in.
Isn't there like a mercy rule?
I don't know. Hey, Listen, there's a lot of football left. That's 3 weeks, man.
Oh man.
Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on now. It's for week 4. Here's the matchup again. Remember, it's hopefully tougher decisions that you have to be making in your lineup. Not are you going to start Jamal Charles or whatever. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let's go to the quarterback position, guys. And Blister, you are losing, so you get to go first. So let's take a look at Derek Carr at the Chicago Bears or Ryan Tannehill, who is hosting the Jets.
I'm going to take Derek Carr at Chicago. They've been playing quite well and putting up some points, and Chicago's defense is a little shaky, so I'll take that. I think the Jet defense is tough if Revis plays. Revis. You know, I keep getting mixed up with some of the folks in town here, but yeah, I'm a little worried about the Tannehill matchup, and he hasn't been all that impressive, so let's give me some Carr.
And some Derek Carr. Oh, yeah, it's been nice. I just look at my dynasty team. I'm like, that's beauty. Anyways, Slim, what about you, Derek Carr or Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I'm glad you gave us a softball here because to me this one's pretty automatic. You go with Carr. I mean, you want the Chicago secondary or Revis and the Jets secondary? I'll take my chances against the Chicago secondary.
All right. Well, see, so here's the thinking, right? And sometimes when I pull these out, this is you drafted Ryan Tannehill. We just suggested pick up Derek Carr off the waivers, and now you're sitting there going, oh, but I invested this in Ryan Tannehill. I have expectations. So just to solidify why you're going to take Derek Carr on the waivers. Let's move on to the running back position. Some of this one's coming to you, Isaiah Crowell at the Chargers or Dougie Martin, who's hosting the Carolina Panthers.
Well, this one's close for me. I'm going to side with Crowell just slightly. We saw AP have some success, I guess we'd say.
Yeah, some.
Chargers rush defense. Maybe it's a little bit better than some.
The stiff arm was somewhat successful.
Yeah, no, he had a couple nice runs. Now, obviously, Crowell isn't Adrian Peterson, but you know, I don't necessarily like the matchup that Doug Martin going against the Carolina front seven. So I'm going to go with Crowell.
All right, Blister, how about you? Taking the crowbar or the muscle hamster?
Well, you know, I know too much of the muscle hamster this year because he's on a lot of my teams and he hasn't helped me one damn bit. So I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to take Crowell.
All right.
Jerk.
All right, so it's about that time where we start taking a look at Todd Gurley. So week 4 here, Todd Gurley, who is at Arizona, who he was wicked, I may say. And compare him to, I guess it's Slim. Oh, no, it's Blister. Todd Gurley or Bilal Powell, who is at the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one because, you know, Bilal Powell isn't their number 1 option. Tough. Well, they're not that tough. Todd Gurley is going to Arizona. They're pretty tough, but if he gets enough balls, he could produce. I still think they're easing him back in, though, so I'm going to go with Bilal Powell in a 9-7 victory.
Ooh, I like it. Slim, how about you? Are you taking Gurley or Powell?
Well, I'm going to take Pepto-Bismol if I had to pick between starting these two guys this week because this is digging deep. So, but I will go with Powell as well. I don't know if Gurley's going to get tons of usage, honestly. Fairly tough defense. If Arizona jumps out to a quick lead, or any lead, then I think you see a lot of Benny Cunningham. And they might just put him on the shelf a little bit and chalk this one up to, let's go 7 days from now and stay healthy. Whereas I think Powell could be one of these ugly, close games in London. If the Jets do get down, then I think Powell could be in there as a passing back, so he could get more reps than Gurley.
Well, and we are digging deep, but Fantasy Pros, where I pulled them from today, Todd Gurley is ranked as the 33rd ranked running back. So, you know, flexible for the rankings, right? For the rankings. All right, so someone's taking Powell as well. Oh, that's right, I forgot. We've got an international game. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Some of this one's going to you, Ty Montgomery, who you spoke to earlier, who is at your 49ers, or Ted Ginn, who you also spoke to earlier, who is at Tampa Bay.
Sorry, I'm a little slow on that. Oh, so you got my wide receiver 48, my wide receiver 50 going on again. Yeah. feel free if you have to pick between these two clowns to start.
Well, you mentioned them for waiver wire claims, so now you got to play. Which one do you put more money on? Basically, what I did.
Yeah, they're sweet. I'm gonna go with Ted Ginn. Like I said, I have him 2 spots ahead of my rankings, which when you get this deep probably means absolutely nothing. But I'm going to go with him only because Ty Montgomery at least has James Jones and Randall Cobb ahead of him. Could be a big lead there. A lot of Eddie Lacy, James Starks maybe. Carolina, I think they'll be in this game a little bit longer than Green Bay will in theirs. So Ted Ginn could be a little bit more involved.
All right, Blister, how about you taking Teddy Ginn, or are you going Ty Montgomery?
Well, I actually was going to take Ted Ginn too, and I guess I still should.
Because you're trying to make up ground, is that what you're saying?
Well, I shouldn't take. I need to make up ground, but I'm not going to do it at this rate. But I'm just trying to keep it respectable for a week.
Okay, keep it tight. All right, next up, let's switch to Cole Beasley at the Saints, or are we looking at Colston, who's hosting the Dallas Cowboys?
Cole with Brandon Whedon or Marcus Colston with injured Drew Brees. Whew, that's a tough call here. They both don't excite me.
This is the biggest plug. This is the man I think.
I'm sorry. Well, you know what? Normally I go to a different site and pull it off of there, and then it wasn't copy and pasting properly. So I like to go deep in their rankings, but I apologize. And then I was rushed. I was trying to get into the new spreadsheet. This has been an amateur hour show altogether, but
PPR. So I'm going to go with Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley. All right. Slim, how about you?
I'm doing the same. I mean, I think he catches more passes. Whedon's not great, but he showed that he won't throw the ball down the field, and he'll just milk Dunbar and Cole Beasley, I think, in that short passing game. So I'll go with the volume.
Do we see Matt Castle in a couple weeks?
You should hope not, as a Cowboys fan. No, I do own him in the fishbowl.
Oh, do you? Well, I guess because he was going to be the starter.
I go deep.
That was going deep.
But I also got Whedon too, so man, I look good right now.
There you go. All right, so we're going to stay with you, and we're at the tight end position right now. Eric Ebron at Seattle, or Kobe Fleener hosting the Jags.
I'm going to go with Fleener. Actually, sorry, no, I'm not. I'm going to go with Ebron. My rankings just loaded. So I'm going to go with Ebron. Again, they're very close for me in the rankings. I have them both as low-end tight end ones this week. I'm banking on him just catching a few more passes while Seattle focuses on some of the bigger play threats on the outside. And this one could get out of hand fairly early, and this could be one of those games where Stafford, and he'll fail miserably, but he might put the ball up 45, 50 times in this one. So we'll see.
All right, and how about you, Blister?
Oh, yeah, I thought I was going to have to. I wanted Ebron when he said Fleener. I thought I have a chance here this week. But I like Ebron. With the exception of Martellus Bennett, they had given up a touchdown to the tight ends the first 2 weeks. So hopefully I think they're going to have to throw the ball, and they will throw the ball a lot. And they'll shut down Golden Tate on a homecoming trip, and they'll shut down Calvin Johnson. So hopefully that leaves Ebron open for 8 catches, 83 yards, and a score.
Whoa. Calling it out right there. Nice. Right there. I like that. That's right there. You heard it here. All right, Blister, staying with you. Now we're at the flex position. Alan Hearns, who is at Indy, or Leonard Hankerson, who is hosting the Houston Texans.
Give me some Alan Hearns this week in Indy. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. I think Indy's woke up a little bit. They're at home. They want to get back to 500. So Alan Hearns and Allen Robinson hopefully will be heavily involved. Everyone expected Allen Robinson to be last week, but he kind of had a dud.
A little bit of a dud. So somewhat about you. Are you taking Alan Hearns or Leonard Hankerson?
I'm going to go Hearns. He was one of my deep sleepers, DFS guys last week, and he scored. I think he should see plenty of snaps again this week in what could be a game where they have to throw it a lot. So I like that. I'll go with Hearns.
All right, and then we're at the DST, which obviously you guys are really split up this week, so maybe we can get you here at the DST. So some of this one's for you. Are you taking the Atlanta Falcons, who are hosting the Texans, or are you taking the Washington Redskins, who are hosting the Eagles?
Yeah, you got them right tight to my rankings. I'm going to go with the Falcons. Sounds like Lister was too. So yeah, I mean, not much to say there. Ryan Mallett. They have, believe it or not, they've thrown the ball a ton this year, and Dan Quinn has the Falcons actually playing not too bad on defense and forcing a few turnovers. So I like that.
All right, your turn, Blister. Are you staying with the Falcons?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, real barn burner for scoring next week. All right, so both of you are taking Derek Carr over Ryan Tannehill. Both of you are taking Isaiah Crowell over Dougie Martin. You're both taking Bilal Powell over Todd Gurley. Both of you taking Ted Ginn Jr. over Ty Montgomery. You guys like Cole Beasley more than Colston. You guys both like Ebron better than Fleener. You both like Alan Hearns more than Leonard Hankerson. And you're both going to take the Atlanta Falcons over the Washington Redskins DST.
And we're both going to go 7-1. So we're going to look like that's why we didn't split.
There you go. And Blister called Eric Ebron too, right? So
yeah.
No, I don't think you split one.
No, we didn't. I thought we did until I went and actually looked back just now.
All right. Well, I do like the layout of the table here better, but I need to be better at
it's beauty.
Better at some of the guys here, because it's you're right. It was pretty stinky. All right. Anyways, the whole thing just kind of started off oddly, but that's okay. That's all right. Anyways, all right. So that's the end. We actually have somebody still watching, so that's good. Just looking down at the viewers right now. There's one guy there. Shout out to Dave Cherney, I guess. The Road Warrior is probably the only guy watching right now. Anyways, so that's the end of episode 123, your Week 4 preview. Don't forget to get a hold of us on Twitter if you have any questions setting your lineups heading into the weekend at Fantasy Auction. And keep the trade evals coming too, because they're always interesting to have a look at. On that note, Slim, I'll actually see you tomorrow at the Big House. Blister, I guess you guys are on lockdown over there, so probably won't see you.
What's going on over there?
I heard that where you're going to be tomorrow apparently is on lockdown. We'll talk, not lockdown, but I used that term incorrectly. But we can talk off the air about what I heard today. So,
all right.
Anywho, for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's hopefully a better podcast next week, and it's springtime in the Rockies.